Greetings and welcome to Educ 6030. I'm coming to you, Erica Southgate, coming to you from my house on a Sunday afternoon. And with me I have my trusty robot, whose name is Bot, who comes with me everywhere. Now I take the robot everywhere with me to remind me about schooling, about the world, about whether things have changed too much with technology and with globalisation, or if they haven't changed enough. Because some of the same educational issues that were around in the 19th and 20th century are still with us, including lack of opportunity for many people within schooling and tertiary and higher education. So, welcome to Educ 6030. I hope you enjoyed the course. Last week we had kind of introduction to what is pedagogy and some broad theories of pedagogy. In fact, there is no one theory of pedagogy, but many theories of pedagogy, and each theory has a different focus, a different interest in the role of stakeholders in the process of education, and a different idea about what the purpose and outcomes of education should be. So this week we're going to talk about critical pedagogy or critical education. Particularly one of the founders of the movement, which is Paulo Freire. So Paulo Freire's work sets the foundation for much of the thinking today, still today, on what it might mean to have a very different idea about schooling and education for communities. Paulo Freire, as the very interesting video by Professor Julio Camarota suggests, was about decolonisation of the self, about thinking about the kind of attitudes and opinions and practices that we have as educators, and what they tell us about our relationship with the learner or the student, and with knowledge, and whose knowledge counts most, whose practices get valued over others. And really about, how we might be able to change some of the relationships of power that might not be so productive or helpful in educational institutions. So if you look at the work of Paulo Freire, I'm just going to flick to my copy over here. If we look at the work of Paulo Freire in the reading for this week on the pedagogy of the press, he asks a number of, he poses a number of statements, such as, is it true that the teachers act and the students have the illusion of acting through the action of the teacher? Well, that's a bit mind-boggling, that. But, is it really only the teachers who get to define what knowledge is through the curriculum in class, and only the teacher who gets to direct the learning? Is it only the teacher who gets to pose the problems that the students must then solve? What happens if we flip that on its head and the students become much more involved in posing the problems, thinking about ways of solving the problems in an authentic way, and in fact generating knowledge around that which might be helpful for their lives and their local community? I mean, he also suggests that the teacher chooses the program content and the students who are not consulted adapt to it. I mean, how often, I suppose, we have to think, have we seen our learners adapt to curriculum or content which really have very little to do with their lives? And what's the rationale for that in education systems? Should it always be the case that the curriculum's centrally set, or should there be much more control over curriculum and the enactment of curriculum, which is pedagogy, in schools? Another statement is that the teacher talks and the students listen meekly. Well, I'm not sure that's always the case now, that students are very meek and non-resistant. How often have we seen in classrooms where students challenge teachers, where students say things like, why do I have to learn this? Or, is there another way to learn it? Or this is boring, can't we, use Google? Or can't we use iPads to conduct a project? Or can't we use our mobile phones rather than having to switch them off and turned away? How often in classrooms have you been in where students are actively challenging and resisting the idea that the teacher holds knowledge and all expertise and the students don't? Where have you seen that come up in a classroom? Where has it been destructive or detrimental to learning, I should say? and where has it actually been productive of great learning? I mean, you might want to think about that. So we're going to return to the idea of critical pedagogy and Paulo Freire, and I suppose really we need to, as we progress through the course, reflect about what we're learning in terms of ourselves as educators. So deeply understand where our ideas about what it means to be a teacher and to teach, and what it means to be a student and to learn come from, and whether it would be worth kind of questioning those things in a critical way. So there is a assessment item due this week. It's a discussion board post. You can go and complete that. And if you think about some of the ideas that Paulo Freire poses, and some of the questions that I've asked in the weekly food for thought section of Blackboard, then that will help you on your way to putting up a interesting, reflective post based on the reading for this week. Now remember, if you need anything, you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me, or if you're on campus, to make an appointment and drop in and we can connect personally, or post something on discussion board. There's a thread for that. Or if you've just got any other reflections you'd like to make, that would be fantastic. We're all learners in a community here together, and I really do look forward to learning from you about pedagogy and power.